Welcome to Frame Dropped. The aerial fighter game Ace Combat 7 is out. If you're curious and want to know what the fuss is all about, but didn't manage to dive into the Ace Combat series yet, you've come to the right place. Stick around if you want to know what to expect from Ace Combat 7: Skies Unknown. Ace Combat is a series by the developer and publisher Bandai Namco that dates back to the year 1995. With the first entry on current generation consoles, Ace Combat 7: Skies Unknown carries on the legacy of flight combat action games. Let me just tell you right off the bat that I never really paid attention to the series, and therefore this was actually my first approach into the Ace Combat universe. So I'm doing this video from the viewpoint of someone who is not a longtime fan, but rather just casually picked the game up because he thought it looked cool. And if you are in a similar situation, let me tell you this: it actually is pretty cool. Although Ace Combat 7 might look like a serious flight combat simulator, it is really not. But it also isn't completely arcadey, so don't think Ace Combat is to airplane games as Burnout Paradise is to racing games. The great thing about Ace Combat is that it really is a well-balanced mixture between simulation and arcade. It's pretty easy to fly a high-speed jet and shoot down the bad guys without worrying about complicated flight mechanics. But at the same time, you have to watch your speed, the flight conditions change depending on the weather, and you really have to think about your tactic if you want to succeed, especially in the later missions. The game even supports flight sticks, so you can get pretty crazy with the mechanics if you want to. At the beginning, you are prompted to choose between an easy and an expert control scheme. Personally, I would recommend that you stick with the expert controls, even if you are completely new to the series, as your plane just controls more natural and you should be able to get used to it quite quickly. And if you plan on playing the VR mode, expert controls are the only option, so you might as well always use them. Speaking about VR, if you buy the PS4 version, you can enjoy an exclusive PSVR mode. I didn't try the VR mode yet, but the general consensus is that the mode is pretty cool in itself if you usually don't get nausea or if you don't mind vomiting into your VR headset. But the content for the mode is pretty thin, so you are able to see everything the VR mode has to offer in maybe half an hour or less. So it is quite cool, but you probably shouldn't buy the game just for the VR mode. Okay, so what do you actually do in Ace Combat 7? The heart of the game is its story mode, which consists of 20 missions that are separated by pretty traditional cutscenes. The story is your typical Japanese, part over the top, part really exciting, part bullshit narrative. But it was never as boring as to make me want to skip the cutscenes, and it definitely has its really cool moments. The best part of the whole game, however, are the missions itself, which have enough variety in order to make you always want to see the next mission. You don't always just have to take out some targets in the air or on the ground. Sometimes you might have to defend the base or play decoy as to get the enemy away from something, or be stealthy and avoid enemy radars, or fight in extreme weather conditions and use the clouds to your advantage. The variety in this game even goes as far as implementing some kind of boss fights, where you have to take on legendary pilots or extravagant planes. On the beginning of each of these missions stands a cool briefing video, which explains what you have to do. You can then select your aircraft, of which there are about 50 in total, and choose your weapons and modifiers depending on the mission ahead. Each mission then grants you points depending on the difficulty, your success, your skill, and so on. And these points can then be spent to unlock new planes, weapons, and modifiers. The skill tree is pretty complex, and you will definitely not have seen everything after just playing through the story once. Another example of how the game is not only arcadey but lets you also have a deeper flight simulation experience if you want to, is what happens after the mission. You are immediately placed at a full skippable replay of your flight, which you can stop, fast forward, slow down, and which also lets you choose from a variety of different camera angles. But if that isn't enough to satisfy your analytical needs, you then also have the option to go through a more minimalistic visualization of your mission, which you can also further tweak to get the exact information that you need in order to improve and learn from your mistakes. But the best thing is that all of this stuff is optional, and the game is therefore not intimidating for players who just want to have a little fun and don't want to worry about that complex simulation stuff. But if they want to, they can. There is also an online mode if you don't just want to do offline missions, but with all the customizable options and the option for detailed analytics, I think that there is definitely some reason for replayability, and I can imagine jumping back into the game from time to time. So what's the final word on Ace Combat 7? If you are like me and didn't really care about the series in the past, but are interested, chances are you might really like it. And you don't have to be an airplane fanatic or someone who likes flight simulators. If you think you could like the game judging from the gameplay that you see here, I'd say go for it. Ace Combat 7 is a simple game. It doesn't do anything shocking that was never done before. But everything it does is on such a refined and polished level that it just feels right. And I would therefore really recommend it to anyone who is looking for a game that is quite easy to pick up, but which can also get really challenging. And also, if you can live with an offline focused single player game that doesn't provide the narrative depth of a Game of the Year title. But it is really solid, and I'm glad that I gave it a try, because I never thought how much I would end up liking it. But let's hear about you. Do you want to try out Ace Combat now? Are you even a die-hard fan and want to share your thoughts about the game? Then let's do so in the comments below. Please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Until then, see you next time.